If someone tells you you're too sensitive every time you bring up a legitimate concern, they're not giving you honest feedback. They're gaslighting you. Gaslighting is psychological manipulation that makes you question your own reality, and it starts with specific phrases. Here are 5 things gaslighters say to make you feel crazy, and how to recognize them before the damage is done. Gaslighting is one of the most dangerous forms of manipulation because it attacks your perception of reality itself. Over time, victims of gaslighting stop trusting their own memory, judgment, and feelings. They become dependent on the gaslighter to tell them what's real and what's not. But gaslighting follows patterns. There are specific phrases manipulators use over and over again. Once you recognize these phrases, their power disappears. Let's break down exactly what gaslighters say and why it works. Phrase number 1 is denying your reality, that never happened, or you're remembering it wrong. This is classic gaslighting. You clearly remember something they said or did. You bring it up, and they flat out deny it ever happened. They don't just disagree with your interpretation, they deny the entire event. Here's why this is so damaging. It makes you question your own memory. You think, wait, did that really happen? Am I going crazy? Maybe I am remembering it wrong. The gaslighter knows exactly what they did. They remember perfectly. But they're betting that if they deny it confidently enough, you'll doubt yourself instead of them. This technique is especially effective over time. If someone denies your reality repeatedly, you start losing confidence in your own perceptions. Eventually, you stop trusting yourself and start relying on them to tell you what's true. Here's a real example. You confront your partner about a hurtful comment they made last week. Instead of apologizing or explaining, they say, "I never said that. You're making things up. That conversation didn't happen." Now you're defending your sanity instead of addressing their behavior. The psychology behind this: memory is actually somewhat unreliable, and gaslighters exploit that. They know that if they confidently deny something, you'll start second-guessing yourself. Doubt is a powerful weapon. How to protect yourself: keep records, save texts and emails. Write down important conversations immediately after they happen. When someone denies reality, you'll have proof. And trust your memory. If you clearly remember something, you're probably right. Phrase number 2 is dismissing your feelings. You're too sensitive, or you're overreacting. This phrase is insidious because it makes your valid emotions seem like the problem. You're not upset because they did something wrong, you're upset because there's something wrong with you. You're too sensitive. You can't take a joke. You're being dramatic. Here's what's really happening. They hurt you, and instead of taking responsibility, they're making you feel bad for being hurt. They're shifting the focus from their behavior to your reaction. This works because most people don't want to be seen as overly sensitive or dramatic. So when someone tells you that you feel embarrassed. You start thinking, maybe I am overreacting. Maybe I should just let it go. But here's the truth, your feelings are valid. If something hurts you, you have every right to say so. The appropriate response is not, "You're too sensitive." It's, "I'm sorry I hurt you," or at minimum, "Help me understand why that bothered you." Real example, someone makes a cruel joke at your expense. When you tell them it wasn't funny, they say, "God, you're so sensitive. Learn to take a joke. Everyone else thought it was funny." Now you feel isolated and wrong for having normal feelings. The psychology: gaslighters use this to train you not to complain. If bringing up problems always results in being called dramatic or sensitive, you'll eventually stop bringing up problems. They can treat you however they want without consequences. How to protect yourself: trust your feelings. Something bothers you, it bothers you. You don't need to justify or defend your emotions. And notice if someone always tells you you're overreacting. That's a pattern of dismissal and control. Phrase number 3 is attacking your sanity. You're crazy, or you're imagining things. This is gaslighting at its most direct. They're literally telling you that you're mentally unstable, that your perception of reality is broken, that you can't be trusted to understand what's happening in your own life. When someone calls you crazy, they're doing 2 things. First, they're discrediting anything you say. If you're crazy, your observations don't matter. Second, they're making you question your sanity, which is terrifying and destabilizing. This phrase often comes up when you notice patterns they want to hide. Maybe you notice they're always working late with the same coworker. Maybe you notice money disappearing. Maybe you notice they treat you differently in public than in private. When you bring it up, they say, "You're being paranoid. You're imagining things. You need help." Here's the cruel part. If you hear "you're crazy" enough times, you start believing it. You stop trusting your observations. You stop speaking up about things that concern you. You become easier to control. Real example. You notice your partner is being secretive with their phone. When you mention it, they explode. "Oh my God, you're insane. You're so paranoid and jealous. I can't deal with your crazy accusations anymore." Now you're apologizing for noticing red flags. The psychology. Questioning someone's sanity is a power move. It positions the gaslighter as the rational, stable one and you as the unstable, unreliable one. Once that dynamic is established, they can do almost anything and blame your reaction on your craziness. How to protect yourself. Sane people don't constantly worry they're crazy. If someone keeps telling you you're paranoid or imagining things, that's actually evidence you're probably seeing something real. Trust yourself. And consider that someone who frequently calls you crazy might be hiding something. Phrase number 4 is hiding cruelty behind humor. "I was just joking," or "Can't you take a joke?" This phrase lets someone say hurtful, insulting, or even abusive things and then avoid accountability by claiming it was just a joke. They insult you, humiliate you, or cross your boundaries, and when you react, suddenly you're the problem for not having a sense of humor. Here's the test. Jokes are funny. If only one person is laughing and the other is hurt, it's not a joke. It's an insult disguised as one. Gaslighters use jokes to say things they actually mean while maintaining plausible deniability. They can test your boundaries, criticize you, and undermine you, all while claiming they were just playing around. The phrase, "Can't you take a joke?" is particularly manipulative because it makes you seem uptight or humorless. Nobody wants to be the person who can't take a joke. So you laugh it off even though you're hurt. And they learn they can say anything and get away with it. Real example. Someone makes a joke about your weight, intelligence, or appearance in front of others. When you express that it hurt, they say, "Oh come on, I was kidding. Why are you so serious? It was just a joke." Now everyone is looking at you like you're overreacting, and the person who hurt you looks innocent. The psychology. This technique allows gaslighters to express hostility while appearing harmless. If you call them out, they act shocked and wounded. "Wow, I can't even joke with you anymore." They flip the script so you're the bad guy for not appreciating their humor. How to protect yourself. Call it out directly. Say, "That wasn't funny to me. If I'm hurt, it's not a joke." Don't laugh along to avoid conflict. And notice if someone's jokes always target your insecurities or cross your boundaries. That's not humor, that's cruelty with a mask on. Phrase number 5 is isolating you from reality. "You're the problem," or "Everyone else thinks so too." This is gaslighting combined with triangulation. They're not just denying your reality, they're claiming that everyone agrees with them and you're the only one who sees it differently. When someone says, "Everyone thinks you're too sensitive," or "All our friends say you're controlling," they're doing two things. First, they're making you feel ganged up on and outnumbered. Second, they're making you doubt yourself because surely if everyone thinks this, it must be true. Here's the manipulation. Usually, everyone is either made up or drastically exaggerated. Maybe they complained about you to one person who made a vague sympathetic noise, and now that's "everyone agrees with me." Or they're completely lying and nobody said anything at all. This technique is incredibly effective because humans are social creatures. We trust consensus. If we believe that everyone sees us a certain way, we start to believe it must be true. We become isolated and start thinking we're the problem. Real example, you tell your partner you need more quality time together. They respond, "You're so needy. Even your mom said you've always been clingy. All my friends think you're too demanding. The problem is you, not me." Now you feel isolated, embarrassed, and like maybe you are the problem. The psychology. By invoking other people, gaslighters make their position seem objective rather than personal. It's not just their opinion anymore, it's what everyone thinks. This creates immense social pressure to conform and doubt yourself. How to protect yourself? Go directly to the source. If someone claims everyone thinks something about you, ask who specifically. Then verify with those people. 9 times out of 10, the gaslighter is lying or exaggerating. And remember, even if other people do think something, that doesn't automatically make it true. Here's what makes gaslighting so dangerous. It's not just one phrase or one incident. It's a pattern that builds over time. At first, a gaslighter might deny small things. You think, whatever, maybe I did misremember. Then it escalates. They deny bigger things. They dismiss your feelings more often. They call you crazy or sensitive repeatedly. Over months or years, your confidence erodes. You stop trusting yourself. You defer to them on everything. You apologize constantly for things that aren't your fault. You feel confused, anxious, and like you're walking on eggshells. The scariest part? You might not even realize it's happening until you're deep in it. Gaslighting is gradual. It's subtle. Each individual incident seems small, but the cumulative effect is devastating. That's why recognizing these phrases matters. The earlier you spot gaslighting, the easier it is to protect yourself. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. If you're in a relationship where you constantly feel confused, where you're always apologizing, where you doubt your own memory and feelings, that's a red flag. Healthy relationships don't make you question your sanity. These 5 phrases are weapons gaslighters use to control you. That never happened, you're too sensitive, you're crazy, I was just joking, and everyone else thinks so too. If you hear these phrases regularly from someone in your life, you're likely being gaslit. The good news is that awareness is power. Once you recognize gaslighting, it stops working. Trust yourself. Trust your memory. Trust your feelings. You're not too sensitive. You're not overreacting. You're not crazy. If someone makes you feel that way, that says everything about them and nothing about you. Protect your reality. Set boundaries. And don't be afraid to distance yourself from people who make you question your sanity. You deserve relationships where your reality is respected, not constantly attacked. Stay aware. Trust your gut. And remember, gaslighters only win if you doubt yourself.